Hi, welcome to fourth video now in this series, I think. And here's where we get serious. We're gonna actually be throwing the ball, and we're gonna actually start breaking down, different tips and tricks for you long snapping. So we've gone over the grip, we've gone over your hands, gone over the stance. So everything setup wise is there. So make sure you get your setup right. Make sure your setup is the same every single time, and it's gonna help you as we transition into actually throwing the ball and actually snapping. Okay, so for this part of the series, I'm gonna be skipping the whole stance setup. I covered that in the other videos. So if you have any questions or things about that, go back to the other videos in this playlist. And so when we actually start throwing, we're gonna get all set up. And the first tip that I like to say is driving your elbows towards the target. So one thing you really don't wanna do is have your elbows flare as you're coming through, because you're gonna knock your legs and everything's gonna become uneven. So all the hand even practice that we've done and all the drills that you've done, it's gonna be thrown out the window if your elbows flare and are hitting your legs. So my first tip is when you get down, you want to make sure that you have tight elbows and driving them straight to the target. So what I mean by that is that I want you to think about this tip of your elbow as you're looking through to go straight to the target. So don't worry about my hands and let me throw it. Let me just drive this straight to your target. So I'm aiming at this black bag, and I'm going to think about just throwing my elbows just straight through the target as I'm going. So I'm a look snapper, and what that means is that I look through my legs when I'm snapping. Some people are no look snappers, some people are look snappers. I recommend doing the look snapping technique just because it gives you a better idea of where your target actually is. And so what I mean by that is when I get down into my stance, I have my arms where they're going to be positioned. That means I just poke my head through. So what I want to think about is I want to think about tucking my chin to my chest. And that's going to ensure that my head's in the same spot every time. Why that matters is because if your head's in a different spot, your shoulders are going to move past your head a different way each time, and that's going to create inconsistency in your snaps. One thing it's also important to note when you are practicing snapping is that you get set before every single snap. People that know me and are watching this video, I know I'm not the best at getting set every single time, but if you consistently don't get set and just get into a rhythm of snapping on your own, when it comes time for somebody to have a cadence and you have to snap on somebody else's direction, it becomes a lot more difficult because you're so used to just getting down and doing things on a rhythm. So make sure you pause, and just example is you get down, you get in your stance, you get everything set, and you just pause for a second before you snap. Vary the length of the pause, make sure you're comfortable. And that's why having a proper stance is so important, because you got to be able to sit in that stance for a while if you get into a game and somebody takes a while to call the cadence. So we talked about driving the elbows. All right, so that's step one. That's your first movement, is you just think about driving your elbows to the target. The second movement is throwing your hands at the target. So we've been talking about the even hands. We have the even hand drills to make you have a clean spiral. So now you just got to put those two together. Your first movement is driving at the elbows. The second movement is throwing your hand. So I'm going to try to demo that here. Is when I get down, I get in my stance, I make sure everything feels right, I look through. My first movement's here with my elbows, and then my second movement is throwing my hands through. All right, so I'll show you that again. So I get down, I get set, elbows, hands. And if you do the hands the same way you do all the even hands drills and you throw them at the same time, you're gonna have a clean ball that comes out. So I'm gonna try to demo this at full speed. And it's important to note when you actually do this at full speed, not to be jerky and break it up into an elbow and then hands. It's really one smooth motion. But when I fire my hands at the same time after I break at the elbows, it's gonna give me that tight spiral that I've been working on in all the drills beforehand. All right, so that's really my basic just starter on how you're gonna get down and how you're gonna throw the ball. Remember, elbows and then shoot your hands through. I'm gonna go on to a later video and explain your leg drive and then your finish with your hands through the end of the snap. Any questions, comments, please leave them down below. I'll make more videos if I gotta explain anything further in depth, if there's anything that's confusing to you. But thank you for watching.